gonna say, sometime we got word that Hobbit's coming out. It's like, what? Maybe 2010, 2011, we got rumor, and it was probably 2012 or 13 when the first Hobbit movie came out. And there was a minute of a pretty good excitement. I was really excited to
Yeah,
I saw the cat. I can't remember what's the actor's name who was young Bilbo. Oh man,
Martin Martin
yep,
Sheen? No, not Martin. Martin something. I know that.
Freeman.
Freeman.
No,
Martin
yeah,
Freeman, I think. I think that's it, yeah.
nice. So I thought that was a good cast for him, and I like that they brought in old Ian Holmes for a minute just to be old
Oh,
Bilbo, and then
and Gandalf was coming back. So
Gandalf. Yeah.
and
Oh
and
yeah, we
when
had
when
Elrond.
Gollum was gonna be in it, we saw so I was like, oh man,
Yep,
yeah.
and Andy Serkis, Kate Blanchett, um,
Hmm.
Agent Smith. I don't know why I can't think of his name right
You
now.
got Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug.
So that was fun.
Well,
I didn't even know
yeah,
that
yeah.
until I watched it this most recent
Oh,
time.
really?
And yeah, and at the time I was like, who the hell's I probably wouldn't have known him by name except for
Yeah.
Horatio Hornblower. Um, let's see. It just kind of fizzled for me though. Like I don't know how to say it. I was watching Smog in the theater. Got to a point in my life where I was pretty tired all the time, and that
Yeah,
air conditioning in the summer. I don't remember when it was. It's like I fell asleep, and I had no desire to ever want to continue it. And I
I
didn't pick it
agree.
up again until 2 weeks ago.
After the first
8 years
Hobbit,
later, 10 years
after the
later.
first Hobbit, I remember watching it. Wow, this is. I was excited to see where I was gonna go. I mean, I read the book when I was younger, so I was like, wow, this is great. I'm excited. Smog's gonna shit
Yeah,
up.
big dragon.
Yeah,
It's gonna be amazing.
and that
Yeah.
was a cliffhanger. That's it. They left it at that. Then I watched the second movie, and it kind of just flew by after like 20 minutes. Like the whole thing with Smaug, and I don't know. I just felt like the rest of the movie was boring. Right? It was just like, and then I don't even remember Five Arms. I saw it once. I know Thorn was going through it with that stone, whatever it was.
Right.
I
I
can't
don't even remember
remember.
what they call it.
In Rings of Power now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
Durin. Yeah, yeah. Durin's. How about that? What about you, Buck? I know the Hobbits. You feel about the same.
Yeah, it's funny. It's just it's like you said, man. I feel Peter Jackson just went through the same trap as George Lucas. I think they went overboard. He went overboard with The Hobbit. I like you, Marco. I loved the first one. I thought was great. I really did. I saw the first one a couple of times. I remember. Um, Smog, the second one.
Desolation. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Same thing happened to me. I saw it in the theater and I could not get through it. It just felt so
It
stretched
really.
out. Towards the end when they were all in the cave. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, but they were in a cave with the dragon and the cutscenes back and forth, back and I mean it took forever. And I'm like, wow, this is just really dragged out. So I couldn't even get through it in the theater. I saw it again, I think a year later at home. But yeah, it didn't do anything for me. Then the third one, like you, Marco, again, I saw it once in theater. I'm like, it was all right. It was good. I mean, it again. The problem is he relied too much on CGI, and it was off. It was such a difference between the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. You could tell
George Lucas. Yeah.
he did the same thing that George Lucas did, and it didn't. You could tell it looked fake. A lot of it just looked very blue green screen and like yeah it didn't look as real like the locations and just like in Lord of the Rings it didn't feel real. So it wasn't that it was
Yeah.
awful, it wasn't, it didn't feel as good and not nearly as epic. And the Hobbit story wasn't supposed to be, it should have been just one movie.
It
That's all
should
it should have
exactly. It
been.
was only one book.
And yeah, and that's where he went overboard. But
But yeah, the only real special thing that happened in that story is the ring was found.
yeah.
They
That's it.
discovered the ring and they pulled it out. I
Yeah.
guess the dragon dies. That's another big one. If that dragon was still around, it would have been interesting. But
Yeah.
um, that's it. So, like you said, it's a kid's book. I mean, young adult, whatever. It's not terribly long. You can get through it pretty fast. And he made it long. And
Long.
I
Yeah.
just I get that part of it. Now, what's funny is all the extra stuff, which I think the new show is getting criticized for making up stuff. Seems like Peter
Mhm.
Jackson made up a few things.
He did.
At the time, he was criticized for it. Similarly, with George Lucas, was like, people
Yeah.
were, "What are you doing? This is not the same Star Wars I grew up with."
Hmm.
But funny then versus now. Now I was fresh. I'm not sitting here I wasn't anticipating my watch of The Hobbit recently, but I enjoyed this series of films actually more than both you guys did then, more than I did then. So I almost feel like it deserves a second chance because now that the dust has settled, watch it after Rings of Power if you think there's like, yeah, I want a little more Lord of the Rings in me. I think you'd be I think you'd be okay with it. If take your time, enjoy it because it was look at the prequels. I look back at them now as like, they're okay. They've got their issues, but it's not the worst thing ever. So that's just my thought.